Hi, everybody.
Good morning.
Hello, hello. If you're tuning in, please tell us good morning from where you are. And on here in Norwich, a beautiful day outside, hopefully with you as well. We are going to start in proper fashion like Cliff will, who've got some people coming in.
Oh, lovely.
We're going to sort of, a bit like last time, Kath and I are going to share the space, and we're going to actually do some polls this time, like Cliff does, to check in with you to see how you're faring, and we'll see what happens in the session.
And I'll go now, but I'm here.
Thank you very much,
Dinah here for the chat, and we've got lots of lovely people coming in. Fantastic. Okay.
Great.
So the first...
Hand over to you, Basti.
Thank you very much, Kat. The first poll we'd like to check in with. Now, Kat's moving out of space. I can start to... Here we go. Hello, everyone. So, I'll just bring a poll up for you all, which is, how are you feeling this morning? So, sorry, I beg your pardon, I've put the wrong one up. But that's all right.
We can delete that, yeah. We will put the correct poll up.
We'll put the correct poll up. Still getting used to this. Here we go. I beg your pardon, everyone. How are you feeling this morning? Are you feeling stressed out? Are you feeling okay? Feeling quite good? Or a mixture of these? So we're getting quite a lot of answers in. This is good. And we're going to go through some fairly nice exercises and some nice visualizations to go through, especially for the time of year that we're moving into. So hopefully keeping more in harmony with where we are and with where nature is. So we've got mostly people are okay, which is good. That's nice. There's a few people who are stressed out, so we're really going to help you find more balance with that.
And there's some feeling good ones too.
Excellent stuff.
Great.
So now what I'd like to ask is, which of the three burning spaces would you like to work with most? Now, I'm sure you've been through this before, but as Cliff has shown, you have a piece of paper, and you can have one with you now, and if you don't, that's fine. You can just keep in a sense of your mind. We're going to go through in a minute. We're going to scan through in a minute. But if you have a piece of paper, we just put it into three spaces. Here we go. Upper, middle, lower. So this is for people who haven't done this before, but most of you I'm sure have. So we've got most people wanting to have a bit of work on the upper burner. Fantastic. And a little bit, fairly equal, middle and lower. But nothing too outrageous. Actually, it's starting to come up fairly even for middle and upper. Fantastic. Here we go. So I'll just clear those. So last time, I started with a quote from a beautiful ancient text called the Tao Te Ching. So I'm just going to read the same one again, and this is where we're going to start from. Do you think you can take over the universe and improve it? I do not believe it can be done. The universe is sacred. You cannot improve it. If you try to change it, you may ruin it. If you try to hold it, you'll lose it. So, sometimes things are ahead and sometimes they are behind. Sometimes breathing is hard and sometimes it comes easily. Sometimes there is enough strength within us and sometimes there is weakness. sometimes one is up and sometimes down. And therefore, the sage avoids extremes, excesses, and complacency. And so, sometimes things are a bit difficult, sometimes they're not. Sometimes we're feeling okay, sometimes we're not. And it's all okay. From this place, I'm going to pass over to Kat to start seeing what exercises we can do to warm up and feel well and balanced again.
Lovely. So hopefully you're feeling a sense of wonder from that lovely reading Basti just shared with us. That was a slip. Okay, so if you're happy to, if you come up to standing. If you wish to sit on a chair or the floor, you can also do this part of the exercise sitting if you feel you need to. So we just want to come to a really easy parallel, and our feet can just rest and spread in the ground. And the ankles can be soft and the knees soft as well, so we're not holding onto the kneecaps. And the pelvis we can just allow to gently balance on the top of our legs. And our arms can hang by the side of us, and our spine can grow up towards the sky. Lovely. So from here, we're just going to rub our hands together and create some chi, some ki. Or if they're cold, you can warm them up. You can do the back of the hands as well, where in between the fingers, it's like energetically washing our hands. Great. And then from here, we're going to start at the top of the head and come down the body using firm but really nice comforting presses or brushes. And we're going to bring in this energy of the earth and groundedness. So I like to use this image of, probably a lot of you do some gardening, when you press warm compost into a flower pot. So it's nourishing and warm and it feels really wonderful, particularly when it's a bit chilly in the morning but bright sunshine. So if we start at the top, and we're just going to come to the top of the head. So either side of the temples, over the forehead, pressing in that lovely, nourishing, warm compost. And we can move the hands around the skull, feeling how wonderfully round it is. So moving your hands where you feel they need to be. And if you want to stay in a place a bit longer, that's great. Or perhaps you want to be a bit more speedy. So round to face, if you're comfortable with that. If you don't want to touch your face, you just hold the hands just a little way from your face and send the ki towards the face. You can do that too. So pressing this wonderful warm compost into the face, round the eyes, particularly if you've done a lot of computer work or work at home, like this liver energy that's been working a lot on screens. We want to nourish the eyes and the liver as well. So that's in our middle burner. And round the back to the neck. So either interlacing the fingers and gently pressing with the heels at the back of the neck, or you can just grab and squeeze firm compost into the neck at the back there. And then we're going to come down onto the shoulders. So I'm holding one arm with the opposite arm, pressing that lovely warm compost, that earth that supports us and nourishes us. And then the other side as well. Lovely. So if you're feeling in your middle burner that it's a bit more tight, or you're a bit more frustrated and pressing just simply isn't enough for you, you can swap to some dough in. So feel free to mix it up. If you feel like you need to release a little bit more, use some loose fists around the chest and the shoulders, holding the opposite arm if that's easier for you, and down the arms as well. If you're happy pressing, we'll continue doing this. So you can mix it up. Perhaps on the arms you want to do some firm presses all the way down, and on the legs some dough in. So do exactly what you feel is right. So we're going to press from the shoulder down the outside of the arm. Nice, firm, nourishing pressing all the way down to the fingers. So the arm I'm pressing is nice and relaxed. I don't have to hold it up. We can drop into our feet, into gravity. Let's do that a couple of times down the arm. Perhaps a bit more time in the elbow. See, did that myself there, so dropping the shoulder. It's that lovely elbow joint that probably we do quite pay enough attention to. Pressing into the elbow and then down into the wrist. A little bit more time spent at the wrist perhaps, and then pressing into the hands. Just a general squeeze all over. Great. And we'll come to that other arm. So if you're doing some doing, that's great. You can tap down the arms all the way to the palm of the hand. And if you're pressing, we'll continue to press, allowing this arm that we're working on to relax. Great. Giving wonderful, nourishing squeezes and presses all the way down. Let's do that twice more. Just notice how your breath is and where that's at, and how your feet are on the ground, or if you're sitting, how's your pelvis? How's that feel? Let's do that once more, down the back of the arm, maybe a bit more tension on the elbow, those wonderful joints, all those ligaments and tendons that move us as well as the muscles. All the way down into the wrist. And then general squeezing over the palm of the hands as well. Great. So from here, we're just going to come back to the upper part of the chest. So there's a few of you that wanted some upper burner kind of attention. So we can do the same here, pressing into the chest. Warm, nourishing compost. That's lovely. If you feel you need a little bit more to open up the lung meridian, there's lung 1 here just off the shoulder. If you feel like breath's not quite coming in, perhaps the dough-in is a bit more needed this morning. I'm going to stick to pressing, and we're going to press down to the sternum, and then come either side of the chest. So this is the spleen meridian. Either side, all the way to the pelvis, and then we can come to our hara and just give some gentle, firm circles here. Lovely. I'm going to go right hip up to the right ribs and across and down, the way our intestines move. Our digestive tract moves in this way. Lovely. So from here, if you're sitting, you can go down your legs. If you're cross-legged on the floor, perhaps you can open one leg out. Or if you're at home with a nice person about, maybe they can do your legs for you. So if you're standing, we're going to just soften the knees a little bit more. I'm going to do one leg at a time. You can do both if you wish. I'm sticking with the pressing, but if you wish to do some dough in, and we're going to go down the stomach channel, which is just on the outer side at the front, near the kneecap, so it's kind of like train tracks round the knees going down to the feet. So I'm going to start at the top, round my pelvis, pressing in, and I'm keeping my knees soft, and my head and neck are released and relaxed. Don't have to hold anything. Pressing down the shins all the way to the feet, and you can generally press the foot into the ground, grounding ourselves down. And then we're going to press up the slight inside of the leg all the way into the hip crease. So let's just do that once more on this leg, pressing this warm, nourishing compost. So you can hang around the knee a bit more if you want to give it a bit more attention. You can hold the whole knee and the kneecap, making sure our knees are soft and head and neck are released and relaxed. All the way down to the top of the foot, not forgetting the ankle. And then we'll come up the inside of the leg, up the shin, round the knee, all the way up to the hip. And then we'll swap sides. So we'll go down twice. So if you feel that you need a bit of dough in, go for that as well. But everything's soft and nourished and warm and juicy in the muscles and joints. So I'm going to press down the outer side of the front of the leg all the way to the top of the foot. This nourishing, warm, earthy type feeling. And then pressing up the inside of the foot to the inside aspect of the knee, all the way up to the hip, into the hip joint there. And we'll go down once more, so softening the knee, making sure the head and neck are released as well. Maybe hanging around the knee a bit more. Perhaps it needs a bit more attention this morning. You can give it a rub or a press, however it is. And then continuing to press down, round the ankle and the top of the foot, and then coming up the slight inside of the foot all the way to the pelvis. Lovely. And then we can just press round the pelvis, so not forgetting the back, to feeling the full volume of yourself. We're not 2D, we're wonderful 3D people. Feeling that sense of weight and I guess the structure of us as well. Lovely. I'm going to come back to the belly area where our dantian is, just below the belly button and before the pubic bone. Great. We're just going to do some gentle circles, spiraling inwards. Whether you're standing or sitting, completely up to you. You can let your eyes close if that's easier. We're just going to imagine this wonderful, nourishing energy going in, inwards, spiraling inwards, and sending it to the back of our bodies, to our Ning Men. Don't worry if you don't know what that is. So we have these two wonderful spaces in our torso. So just gently spiraling this lovely energy we've created this morning. And then just allowing the hands to settle. And checking in like where your breath's at. Just noticing, just like in the wonderful message Basti read this morning. Not necessarily changing anything, just allowing it to be. So you can keep your hands here if you're comfortable with that and your eyes closed. Or if you wish to sit and relax your arms, I'm just going to read a lovely visualization for this time of the year and the seasons changing. So you can stay standing and feel this lovely warmth and supportive feeling from the earth. And it's from the book called Environmental Arts Therapy and the Tree of Life. And I can write that up for you at the end. And it's in chapters of seasons, and this is for September. September comes and the nights creep in. A coolness settles around and within us, and there is a sense of turning. The solar energy of the masculine is losing its power and recoiling, and we begin now to spiral inwards once again. The hedgerows become laden with dark fruits, blackberries, sloes, and elderberries. This is a return to the feminine and her shadowy riches. Even before the leaves start yellowing, we know that autumn is here. We feel the change of direction within ourselves, a desire to return, like the snail, into the spiral of our being. The sun may still be shining, but it is a little lower in the sky now, and it picks out cobwebs in the hedgerows and sets them ablaze in the morning when the dew drops held upon them sparkling like strings of diamonds. The days can be soft, hazy and warm, but the nights are growing colder. The unharvested fruit and grain is falling by itself now, mouldering in the long grass, attracting mice, squirrels and birds. There is a sense of gathering, for there is both bounty now and hard times ahead. Life is beginning to pull inwards, collapsing its systems, folding its wings about itself, taking stock, settling down and preparing for the endings to come. So just allowing those words to sink in or waft over you. Perhaps you drifted off if you're lying down. So if you're happy to come back to standing, if you're not already, and we're just going to pad through the feet. So that wonderful sense that the ground has got us and is supporting us. And this idea that things are changing outside and we're spiraling inwards, ready for change again. Great. So from here we're just going to shift weight onto one foot and allow this leg to be nice and long and supporting so you don't drop into the hip, which is what I do in the supermarket, and it's not a great look. Anyway, so shifting the weight into the leg and allowing the earth energy to come upwards and allow us to stand tall. We're going to do some circles, spiraling with the ball of the foot, opening up all of the sole of the foot. Perhaps there's one part that you want to stay in particularly, or a bit that you just don't want to touch at all this morning. That's completely fine. You should also do this sitting down if you need to on a chair. Great. And then change direction if you haven't already. You can do smaller circles and spirals. And you don't have to push too hard if you're not feeling that this morning. You can be gentle. And then from here, so I'll just turn sideways so you can see it. I'm going to gently press the top of my foot. So I'm tucking the toes under, pressing gently into the front of the ankle. So you can allow the foot to be wherever feels comfortable for you. If that's too much for the toes and the foot, just raise the heel off the ground. We're just going to gently open the front of this foot here, the ankle. Lovely. And then stepping back into a lunge, it doesn't have to be huge. Opening up the back of the leg from the toes all the way up into the pelvis. And again, gently tucking the toes under or lifting the heel if that's easier. And then stepping back and opening the back of the leg all the way up into the pelvis and the sacrum. Lovely. Great. And seeing perhaps there's a change in the foot. So shifting the weight onto the foot you've just worked. And we're going to circle the other foot on the ground. Perhaps one's easier to move than the other. Today my left is a bit clunky. Normally it's the other way around. So just noticing what's going on. You don't have to be too hard on yourself either, just allowing for what it is and what it feels like. So change direction if you haven't already. Perhaps there's a bit you'd like to stay in a bit more. So opening the feet and giving them some attention is really great for grounding us and allowing breath to come in and really drop into the body to help our lower burner to grasp that wonderful, natural, pure ki that we've got all around us. Lovely. And the same again, gently pressing the front of the ankle open by tucking the toes under, wherever that's comfortable for you. Just gently raising the heel off the floor. Lovely. And then stepping that back into a lunge. It doesn't have to be huge. It can be however feels right for you. Opening up the back of the leg all the way from the toes into the pelvis. You can rearrange and wiggle around. Certainly don't have to be static. And again, gently tucking the toes under. Lovely. Or just gently lifting the heel off. And then stepping back into a lunge. Spreading the feet in the ground. And where's your breath at as we move? Just checking in again. Great. And then coming back to parallel. Bringing the feet slightly more together. They don't have to touch. So you can have a very narrow parallel. I'll turn this way so you can see. I'm going to soften my knees and do some circles with my hands over the kneecaps. And they don't have to be huge circles. They can be really subtle. If this is too much for your lower back, you can actually stay standing. Just drop the pelvis towards the ground. You can hold the top of the hips and circle the knees here. So this is really helping holding the pelvis or the knees, giving some support there. Making sure our shoulders are nice and relaxed and the head and neck as well, so we're not doing circles like this and the breath can't come in. Everything's nice and open and soft, nourishing, like that earth feeling. So circles and spirals, they're the way the body naturally moves, and it's everywhere in nature, it's all around us. So change direction if you haven't already. And the joy of circles and movement, particularly in our joints, is that it sends our synovial fluid around the body. So that's our natural WD-40. So we're actually oiling our knees, ankles and lower back, the sacrum, as we do these circles. Lovely. So from here, softening the knees and uncurling. So the head's the last thing to come up. And stepping out into a larger stance. Yes. Shaking the arms out if you need to. Great. And then placing the feet, spreading them in the ground and allowing the pelvis to drop. So you can do 2 different circles with the pelvis, as though we've got an imaginary hula hoop. I've been playing around at home. When I have my knees soft and bent and do circles with the pelvis, I feel this more on the outer aspects, a more physical, kind of muscular, meaty kind of feeling. So if that's something that you feel that needs some work, you can soften the knees more with the circles. If you feel you want to go a bit deeper and more into the structure of your body, into the joint really deep, keeping the legs nice and long, but the kneecaps don't have to grip. And doing more subtle circles, I feel I get more tension right into the deep part of the hip socket. So doing what you feel is right this morning. A deeper spiraling into the pelvis or a more outer aspect, meatier part. And change direction if you haven't already. You can allow your hands to release, or you can have your hands on your pelvis, whichever's comfier. Great. And then just allowing that to just wind in, gently spiraling back to a neutral. Just checking in as we're moving to the next spiral, like where your breath's at. Not necessarily changing it, just seeing where it's sitting in the body. Perhaps you feel it in the nose, or in the belly, or in the chest. Or maybe you're a wanderer sage and you can feel it in your feet. So coming back into more parallel when you're ready, walking the feet in. So we want to keep the feet spread and connected to our earth energy. Lovely. So from here, to work the diaphragm and the middle burner a little bit more, since we've just worked our lower burners and opened this space up in the pelvis. Tricky part, but I know you can all do it, even just imagining. So we're going to move the rib cage a little. Yeah, that's it. You get your Beyoncé's out this morning. That's what we need to get this juicy feeling in the torso. So to break it down, if you put a hand on the front of your ribs, we're just going to gently press gently press into the hand, lovely, and place a hand on the back, wherever's comfortable for you, and gently press, like dropping the weight into the back of the ribs and spine. So we're just going to go back and forth, and I'm keeping my knees soft, and it can be subtle, doesn't have to be huge, it can be really subtle, just gently pouring some weight from one hand at the front into one hand at the back. So the legs are nice and strong and stable, the pelvis will move a little. Great. Allowing the breath just to drop down into the belly and allowing the ribs to just slide from one hand to the other, and the spine can just join in however's comfortable for you. It doesn't have to be huge. And you can also do this sitting. Lovely. And then from here, we're going to place a hand on one side, each side of the ribs. And the same thing, I'm dropping my weight into the pelvis, so gravity takes over. And I'm just going to push a little weight from one hand to the other. Kind of like the top of a typewriter, going from one side to the other, sliding across like a well-oiled machine. Lovely. You can do this subtly, just seeing which way the ribs want to move or how much they want to move. It doesn't have to be huge. Lovely. And perhaps one side's easier than the other, and that's okay as well. Great, and coming back to center. And just for fun, to help the brain get going as well, let's try some circles with the ribs. So you can use your hands to help. So we're going to press forward, slide over to one side, then the back, the other side, and forward again. So do this at your own speed, at your own size of circles and spiraling. Doesn't have to be huge. Great. It's good fun. Get the brain going and the body in isolation into different areas. Took me a long time to get this, so don't worry. And then change direction, just for fun. And you can allow the arms to hang by the side and the breath to pour into the torso. We can keep your hands on the torso if that's easier for you, to feel which direction the ribs are moving in. Wonderful. So also opening up the middle burner, the stomach and the liver kind of energy there. Lovely. And let's come to the upper part of the body, our upper burner. So I'm going to drop into the knees and allow my chin to tuck to my chest, dropping the head forward a little, leaning forward, and my arms are relaxed, and I'm going to draw my shoulders up to my ears, and that's going to help me to stand up. And as I come to standing, then the shoulder blades at the back can just melt down the ribs like warm butter right down the ribs at the back. So let's do this in your own time. We're going to breathe out as we drop forward, chin to chest, knees soft, feet are relaxed, and then breathe in, drawing the shoulders up towards the ears, and breathing out, softening the scapula down the ribs. Going to breathe in again. As we breathe out, chin to chest. Now you don't have to go too far. You can really be subtle about it. Breathing in, the shoulders draw up towards the ears. And breathing out, the shoulder blades melt down the ribs at the back. Let's do this a couple more times. Breathing out, dropping forward. And you can be as large or as subtle as you wish with the movement, allowing the head to always be relaxed. Breathing in and drawing the shoulders all the way up to the ears. Breathing out, the shoulder blades slide down the ribs at the back. Just once more. Just going to breathe in. As we breathe out, chin tucks to chest. Lovely. Just allowing things to really be received into the ground. Breathing in and drawing the shoulders up towards the ears, and the scapula can melt down the ribs at the back. Great. So from here, we're just going to gently turn the head from side to side. That wonderful gliding feeling lovely synovial fluid. So we're gently oiling the vertebrae in the neck and all the way up into the skull. So the last part of the neck is actually at the level of our ears inside the skull, pivoting the head around. We want to make sure we don't strain anything, keeping everything nice and soft, that wonderful, warm, nourishing stomach and earth-like quality. Okay. And we're going to come back to neutral, and then you can shake the legs out if you need to, and the arms. And then just standing a second and just checking in again. Where's the breath at? Not changing anything, just checking in again. And perhaps how you're feeling now. Hopefully a lot better. I hope so. Great. So I'm just going to swap over so I can let Basti in. So it won't be a second. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kat. That was beautiful. Really enjoyed that. I'm just going to have a moment letting that settle and also letting the screen focus. So, what I would like us to do from here and from that lovely work is a quick scan into our burners, like I said we'd do, just to see how they're faring now we've done a bit of work. And then I'm going to take us through one last exercise with a bit of detail into it, and then we'll check in again at the end and see how that goes. Fantastic. So if you had a piece of paper with the 3 areas marked on it, fantastic. And if you don't, that's fine. But you can just remember it because you'll have a feeling of it. So you can do this sitting down, you can do this standing up. I'm going to stand up. I might need the screen a little bit higher. Thank you very much. That's it. Perfect.
Bit more, I
A
think.
little bit higher. There we go. So the 3 burning spaces, if you haven't done this before, talked about like areas in the body which it's almost like they're different levels on a factory that are producing energy for the body. And so we have our lower burner from the top of the pelvis up to our belly button, and that whole area where it has some of the intestines, and in the back we have our kidneys and our bladder. So those are the organs that are sitting in there. And this has a very nice, deep quality about it. And so first of all, I'd like us to just tune into this area. So take a moment. If you want to, use your hands to just feel the area just from the top of the pelvis, around the hips, and then find your belly button. And you can have a similar sort of feeling of the lower back where you've got the thick lumbar vertebrae, they're called, the very thick vertebrae of your spine, and where it meets the sacrum, the more kind of plate of bone in the back of your pelvis. That sort of area. So if you can hold the back, fine. If you can't, you don't have to. But just have a feeling of listening, feeling, tuning into what's it like in here. What's that like? And you just get a sense of something. Even if it's nondescript, it's okay. Or maybe you get wonderful pictures and imagery or something. So have a sense of that being your lower burner. Maybe make a note of it on a piece of paper. And now we're going to bring our attention up. So now we're going to be in the middle burner. So we've got from the belly button and this sort of marker up to, you've got the lower part of the rib cage and also the diaphragm inside of here. So this space now in the middle here is the middle burner. And you have the main organs inside of here are liver and gallbladder, stomach and spleen. And the spleen, in terms of our Western understanding, also includes the pancreas. And there's lots of functions they do. I won't go through all of them right now. But obviously you've got a lot to do with digestion going on in the middle here. So just have a sense of this middle area. We want this to be nice and free moving and open. So you can bring your hands on, both sides, which you prefer. Listen, feel, tune in. What's it like in this middle burner? Any notion, any ideas, image or feeling comes up. And if you have a piece of paper, you can make note of it. If not, make a mental note. Was it different from the lower burner? That sort of thing. Okay. And then lastly, of course, we have the upper burner. And that is from the diaphragm up to collarbones that we've got here and around the shoulders. And you've obviously got the lungs in here. But you've also got the heart and the pericardium that covers the heart. And that's like a wonderful web that interacts with everything else in the upper burning space. So now let's just take a moment to go from the sort of diaphragm to the shoulders. You can put your hands on anywhere in the upper burner and just have a sense of listening, feeling, tuning in, being inside this space. What's it like in here? Okay. Nice. And then if you've got a piece of paper, you can make a note of it. If not, just have a sort of mental note and a bit of a comparison. Was it different from the middle burner? Different from the lower burner? You know, just how are they all sitting? Is there, it's all the same maybe? Okay. So now I'm going to take you on a single, well, I'm going to take an exercise that we've done before and we're going to work with it and expand on it. Hopefully there'll be enough time for this all. So feet, if you're, hopefully you can all stand up to do this. So if you're not standing up, I would really appreciate it if you can give it a go. Feet are somewhere between hip to shoulder width apart. You want to have your feet facing straight forwards, and your knees, I'm going to show you, are sort of a little bit bent, but they are directly over the feet. So they're not hanging out or turned in. Directly over the front. And the reason will become clear why. So we're just doing this thing of turning the hips. You know, we've done this before. We just turn and we let our arms swing. And I'll go through sort of, you know, focusing on things in detail from the ground up. It's always a nice way of building on things. So your feet want to stay flat on the floor as you're turning. So you don't want your feet kind of, you know, coming up on the sides like this. And you don't want your knees dropping in. You want to, they want to be staying in the middle as well. And you're not aiming to lean over sideways. You're aiming to keep yourself in the middle. So it's almost like the center of your body is a central pole. And the base of your body is almost like the base in which the pole is stuck into. And that is rooted to the ground. And your arms are just turning free and easy either side of you. Your hips are doing the turning. And that's it. Just letting the shoulders be relaxed. Letting the chest be open and relaxed. Not having to throw yourself about too hard. You just, you know, it's almost like your hips are just turning from corner to corner, and that's it. Just nice and easy for the moment. If you're finding this difficult on the knees, then you can turn them out a little bit. But again, if you do, still try to have them over the tops of the feet, so that they're not kind of dropping all over the place. Your legs, you could say your base, wants to feel nice and steady and relaxed on the ground. Okay, So now we're going to change this a little bit. Break the rules a little bit. We're going to lift up a heel of a foot. So when we turn one way, the opposite heel can come off the ground. Just like that. And you find that you'll turn a bit more in the body. So just have a little play with that, see how it feels. You may find your arms bump into your body a bit more. If it feels uncomfortable, then just try and make your arms a little bit more sort of floopy and floppy. And something that can help with this is the leg that you are sinking into. Try to have that nice and steady. And what you may find is that it causes a bit more of a sort of twist and a stretch around the hip and buttock. And now that's actually helpful. And something else that helps with this is if you can allow your tailbone to sink down. I'm going to turn to the side, you carry on turning. That's great. Is rather than having your bum sticking out like this, you're trying to sink it. That's now we're turning. With everything nice and straight and just hanging down. Okay, and let the turning come to the middle again. And now we're going to change this similar movement, but I want you to really slow down. Still turning the hips, still turning the arms. Imagine it's just moving incredibly slowly. Now, if you need to, shake out the legs, because this can be hard work on some people's legs. So we're going to be doing the same movement, but in slow motion, and then changing the arm movement slightly. So, again, feet hip to shoulder width apart. Knees pretty much over the toes. Soft in the ankles, the knees, and the hips. Allowing that lower burner and allowing that sacrum and tailbone just to relax. Imagine you've got a nice heavy tail that just drags towards the ground, sinking you down. So you've got like a nice straight line along your back. Okay. From here, we're going to push our feet into the ground to raise up a bit, and your arms just float out. And then you sink back down towards the ground and turn your head. And you let your hands kind of come around and meet your center. And then you open back out, and then we're going to come back down. So a few people will have done this before. This is a very simple but well-recognized exercise through a lot of Eastern practices. I'm sure lots of people on here have done this or similar before. Some people may have done this exercise with me before in various different guises. So just following the movement from now, and I'll talk through some of the details that we can put in. Okay, this is lovely. So when you come up, it's like pushing your feet into the ground and letting everything just open out. And when you sink down, imagine that you're like a bag of rice, and someone unzips the bottom of the bag of rice, and everything just goes, sinks down. And that's the sort of feeling you're aiming for, is that everything just starting to sink down from the bottom downwards. So everything's kind of coming from the feet, through the legs, and is just expressed by the upper body. So most of this movement, even though it looks like the arms are doing a load of stuff, most of it comes from the legs and the hips. So people who have done Tai Chi before, you'll recognize this quality. Now, this is really, it does a lot of strengthening and grounding through the legs, this work. And this can also help to open up into that lower burner. So really let that lower burner hang down and be open and just filled up. Every time you push into the ground, you can just feel that energy coming up. Every time you sink down, you're just letting it sink down and relax a bit more. Okay. Now when it comes to the upper part of the body, It's like you're opening and sinking to close in. This opening is just like a flower opening out. No effort involved. And then it just turns away and comes back to itself. Sun comes out, you open out. Sun goes away, the petals close back up. And your hands and your wrists are aiming to come to your centre line. And at the back, again, centre of the back. And it doesn't have to be high up. And if you can't reach, just bring it to your hip. It's absolutely fine. We're not aiming for full-on stretches, full-on movements. There's a saying, 70% is enough. Don't do your best, everyone. I know everyone says that. Oh, just do your best. Don't do your best. That's a lot of hard work. 70% is enough. You're okay. Okay. So one or two more things we're going to go through before we start closing up. And if you need to have a break at any moment and shake out, please do. Please do. And then whenever you're ready to just come back into the movement, that's fine. So the shoulders don't lift up to make the arms come up. It's as you're pushing through the ground, the shoulders are almost relaxing, and the backs of the shoulders, like with this lovely movement that Kat did, the shoulders are sliding down the back of the body, and that brings the arm up and then gets it to turn back over. So the shoulders sink back, and that brings the arms to sink down. And at this point, the shoulders wanting to open out again for the arms to come up, the shoulders have to open out a little bit. So you're starting the next bit of movement. So it's one continual movement. You can think about coming up, and then you can think about going down, and you can think about turning. But in the end, it all becomes one continual flowing, like a cycle. It moves, it opens, part of it's closing, the rest of it's closing down, and then near the end of the closing, something has to open out, so the rest of you is opening out. By the time you're finishing opening out, part of you is closing, and that's the shoulders working in this way. They're not leading anything, it's just a natural movement that needs to happen. Opening out, the shoulders are opening, but then they're sinking and closing the arms, so the rest of you is closing in, and then they have to open out a little bit, and the rest of you is opening. And this is the time of year we're in. We've had that wonderful opening of summer, and now everything is just starting to sink and close. We've still got beautiful days, we've still got openness in the sun at times. And you're probably starting to feel a little bit more like, a bit more like you've done a bit of work, a bit of energy's moving, maybe even a bit of opening the pores in the skin, blood moving around, and that's good, that's what we're after, a little bit of getting energy moving. And this turning and twisting helps to massage the organs inside of our body and gets a bit more of a smooth flow going through. This will help that middle burner. And the openness of the shoulders and that rolling of the shoulders will help the upper burner to open. And if you want to add to this for the upper burner, for those who asked for it, you can add breath in. There's no need to, for anyone who thinks, where's the breath got to be? Have I got to be breathing in at this point? Have I got to be breathing out at that point? As long as you're breathing, then you're okay. However, if you want to add breath in, then as we come up, we can breathe in. So breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in, breathe out. And it's that filling and expanding and sinking in, releasing. And you can affect those yourself. If you feel like you need more release work, then make more effort with the out breath. Really breathe that out. You may may notice physical as well as emotional releasing if you do it for a long time. If you're needing more of a building up quality, then you can breathe in stronger as you breathe in. And just let the breathing out be natural. Build up. Let the breath come in deep. Last couple of goes. Shoulders roll, arms come down. Press them to the ground, open up. Sink into the ground, let everything come back. Now we've been doing one exercise for a long time, which is not the usual thing. No. It's amazing how we can use one thing to affect so many different areas within us. Therein is the quality of our attention and the use of our mind with this. Okay. And just let the movements become smaller. Smaller. Until there's almost no turning. We're just letting that circle that we've been doing, the movement in the arms and the hips, settling more into the middle of our body. Maybe you'll feel it right in the middle, just in front of the spine, just in the gaps between the tissues of the body, and just find a little still point inside. I'm just going to get you briefly to scan through a few areas. Before we do, let's just have a little bit of a shake out. You can rub down the shoulders if any of that's been worked strongly for you. Hips and lower back. Hands. We didn't really do loads of hand and footwork this time. You can give them a little bit of a shake. Okay, lovely, lovely. So, you can sit down for this or you can stand. We're going to listen to our 3 burning spaces again and check in with them. And the poll that we did, first of all, we would do now, but I think we've just deleted it. So we'll just have a check-in with each other. So bring your attention back into yourself and just notice your lower bana from the pubis to the belly button. Front, back, sides and inside. How's that feeling? What's it like now? Just notice. Compare it to before. Middle bana, up to the diaphragm from the belly button. Tune in. What's it like now? Compare it to before. And upper bana. Nice space in the upper part of the body. Just notice how that is. And the last thing I want you to ask yourself, with all of those food burning spaces, with all that we've gone through today, is are you feeling more balanced or about the same? Or are you feeling a little bit out of balance? And you're welcome to give answers in the chat here, or just note it yourself. Are you feeling more balanced? Feeling a little bit out of balance? And all of the things that we play with here, you're welcome to try in your own time. All of these Wednesday classes are recorded, so you can play with them. And we're going to need to bring ourselves back together because this is time to finish up. So, Kat's going to come in. I'm going to get my face mask. Thank you very much, everyone. Whoa.
Yeah, we have our health and safety here at the centre. Oh, great. It seems like you're all feeling a lot more balanced, a lot more breath. That's lovely.
Kat,
Yes.
Sally wants to know the
book.
The book. Could you tell?
Here we go. I'll hold it up for you. So it's Environmental Arts Therapy and the Tree of Life by Ian Siddons Higginworth. That's a great name.
It's a beautiful book.
It's really great, and he goes through the different seasons, the different months. He dips into some Celtic Druid stories as well, and like what plants are out, and he goes through some of his own stories and things like that in the book. But a lot of the words are just so wonderfully poetic and tune into the season and the flavour of what's going on. So yeah, that's this book. I hope, did you get it? I hope you got all of the information there. Great.
No, sorry, I was going to write it down. Just to say it one more time.
Here we are. I'll hold it up again. It's a bit easier.
Therapy and the tree.
Thank you, guys.
Tree of life. I can't write. Tree of life.
Tree of life.
Yes.
Okay.
All good?
Ian Sidrom's Heginworth.
That's it.
Brilliant.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Dinah.
So be down forevermore.
Yeah. So I hope you're all feeling really wonderful and feeling this turn in the season in September. We've still got sunshine out, it's lovely. But that sense of turning inwards and keeping warm and nourished.
Mm. Thank you very much for coming by, everyone. Thank you very much, Dinah, as well, for helping everyone through the chat. And we will see you next week.
Yes, you have us for one more week.
Yeah.
Yes.
Lots of love to you all. And we shall see you soon.
Lovely. Bye-bye. I'll end the session now. Bye.